Howdy, guys, and welcome to Cliff Notes, and welcome to a recap of night number 25 of the overnight feeds for Big Brother season 26. Hope y'all are having a good morning. All right, let's talk about the house guests and what kind of day they had yesterday. Sunday, we already had the veto ceremony. We've got the veto competition. We've got the veto ceremony today. Yesterday, kind of just a dead day. Doesn't mean there weren't conversations to be had. We'll certainly talk about those. The big question throughout the entire day, will he or won't he? All about Tucker and his veto. What's he going to do? Is he going to try to be the hero again? Is he going to save Rubina? Is he going to save himself? We're going to talk about all of that. Now, the house guests did find out yesterday that they're going to be losing the yard sometime today. They've had the yard a lot during this season, but not this week. They're losing the yard today. Typically, you lose the yard on a Tuesday morning, 5 or 6 in the morning. They're losing it almost 24 hours ahead of that, which tells me one of two things. Either we've got some fancy setup of some kind of competition, which means slip and slide the wall, something that takes a lot of construction could be taking place, or we don't know. Julie Chen had teased some new twist coming up. Maybe the yard's being shut down because there's some new twist that's occurring that they're going to need the yard for. We don't know. But the house guests are losing the yard today. That's going to ramp up the stress, the paranoia, just a little bit more while you're locked inside with your cabin fever. So they spent a lot of time outdoors, just enjoying the backyard while they still could. So we'll talk about a little bit of that as well. The house guests certainly think that getting the yard shut down early is suggesting there's some kind of endurance competition. They're just swearing up and down it's going to be the wall. Maybe it could be. We will see on Thursday. All right, so some conversations that are taking place. One of the big ones, Quinn had more or less decided that if Tucker does use the veto, he's going to have to put someone else up in Tucker's place as the pseudo HOH, the hijack HOH. So Quinn's gonna have to put someone up. He more or less has decided that he wants to put Rubina up. But they were close at the beginning of the season. He didn't want to have it come as a complete blow to her. So Quinn did actually sit down with Rubina and tell her that, look, if the power's used, I am going to put you up on the block. And he tells her it's nothing personal, that there are very few options out there, that he's doing it just because of her connection to Tucker. Said, yeah, I'm going after Tucker, right? And it's just because of your connection. It's nothing personal at all. Rubina took it well. It's not anything you ever want to hear, but Rubina's like, yeah, I get it. Okay, whatever. Yeah, that's fine, Quinn. Thanks for letting me know. So Quinn has told Rubina. As a result, now Rubina's feeling a lot more uncertain about her game. She was worried she was going to get put up, but now that's been unofficially said, she's that much more nervous. She got a lot of pep talks from multiple house guests throughout the day. I know T-Core and Chemo talked to her. Tucker certainly talked to her. A lot of different people talked to her, said, look, you're going to be all right. Even if you end up still there on Thursday, you should be okay. Well, maybe. We're going to see what happens over the next few days. But a lot of pep talk. She gave herself a pep talk as well, pumping herself up, saying, look, it's time for me to take over at this point and time for me to start building the resume. It's here. I'll do what I have to do. I'm going to win this thing and move forward. Kind of hope she does. I'd love to see that happen. But yeah, it's definitely seeming a little more real now that she knows that's what Quinn's plan is. All right, we've got Tucker talking to Chemo. Tucker's talking. Now, the sane, regular, normal approach would be you win a veto, you're on the block, you pull yourself off, right? Well, we saw last week that Tucker doesn't do the normal easy approach ever. He gave it to Angela last week. Now he's talking to Chemo saying, maybe I'll give the veto to Mackenzie instead, so I can still compete. I'll win. Of course I'll win the AIBB arena. And then it's going to be Cedric and Rubina on the block. And he said at that point, Cedric should go home. I think we've got the votes to save Rubina. And so everything will go the way it needs to go. If a lot of assumptions built in there. Tucker can't assume he's going to win all of these competitions, but he certainly is shopping out there that it's easy peasy. I'll just keep myself on. I'll win the competition, and that way everything goes much more according to plan. Chemo little more realistic is telling Tucker, saying, look, at the end of your scenario, you've got Rubina and Cedric on the block together. He said, let's make sure that we've got the vote secured to protect Rubina before you just put her up there, right? It seems like a good thing to do. And Tucker saying, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to know for certain if you've got the votes or not this early. I just don't think it's going to happen. But he is certainly shopping the idea throughout the day that maybe I won't use it. Tucker even suggested that maybe he would pick a number between 1 and 3 and let Mackenzie select one of them. If she gets it right, he'll use it on her. If not, then he won't, because that will be God's way of making a decision. I don't think God's down here too concerned about who does or doesn't go up on the game of Big Brother, but he's saying maybe he'll even do something like that. I don't think he's really planning that. It's just him talking. But Tucker is broaching the topic to Chemo at least. Later, Tucker is talking. I think he's talking to Angela and Chemo and T-Core. They're all together. And he's telling all of them again that he may just keep himself on the block, beat Cedric, and finish what he started. Yeah, that's what he wants to do. Angela, even more realistic than Chemo, saying, don't do it. Now, we saw that night before last. She's saying, don't you dare. Well, he's still putting that out there. She's still saying, do not do that. Just Tucker, don't do it. I don't know at this point in time how serious Tucker is. Is he saying this just to ramp people up, just to get people thinking, or is it something he's truly considering? I think it's a little bit of each. As we'll hear a little bit later, there is certainly a little bit of a strategy to what he is saying. But I also think Tucker is confident enough in his abilities that he's bouncing the scenarios around in his head. I'm sure he is. I know he's got to be. All right. He eventually does tell Angela, I'm not going to do it. He says, everyone's against me. I know the odds are stacked against me. And if I'm up on the block Thursday, I am going home. And he's correct on that. All right. Tucker here's the issue. Tucker's afraid that he won't last long with everyone wanting him out. So if I'm going to go, make a big move now. If it works, fantastic. If it doesn't work, well, at least I'm out now and I don't have to do jury house and all of that. That's some of what he's thinking about here. He mentions that Angela is telling T-Core and Chemo a little bit later that she heard a long strategy session between, I think it was between Leah and Cam. I've got Joseph and Quinn down here, but I think it was between Leah and Cam. She says, I sleep in that Power Rangers room. I can hear a lot of stuff going on. And she said that, she's heard a couple of conversations. This one, she does mention that she's heard a strategy session between Joseph and Quinn. She says it's like 10 minutes long. She says Joseph said his plan is going exactly as planned, that Quinn was saying his was going exactly as planned until Tucker threw a wrench into everything. So basically, Angela's spilling the beans that Quinn and Joseph are working together. And I think it's just a way to try to distance T-Core and Chemo away from those guys by knowing that they're having secret conversations that they aren't aware of. So she's pointing that out. Angela's also telling Chemo and T-Core about, this is the other one. She's also talking about, she also heard Leah and Cam fighting with each other, arguing a little bit because he didn't tell her about his alliance, and there was talk about the girls' alliance, and so she feels like the two of them, that there could be a girl something going on based on what Leah was saying and them arguing and trying to work together and all of that. So Angela just spilling the beans about all this stuff. Later, Tucker says something to someone about, Angela fake sleeps all the time so she can listen to conversations and all that. I did a little bit of that. I did a little snoring while I was in the house, and I quickly discovered if I fake snored, people assumed I was sound asleep and would whisper on the other side of the room all night long. Some I could pick up, some I couldn't. But you always have to be careful in that house. But Angela's spilling the beans on a few conversations that she has heard. She's saying that Quinn and Joseph are trying to align with the girls, to pull the girls in, to do anything they can with that as well. All right, we've got T-Core and Chemo talking by themselves. They're worried that that Tucker coming off the block is certainly dangerous for Rubina. It puts her on the block. It exposes her to the vote Thursday and all of that. But they're also saying, but on the other hand, if she could survive this week, it's going to force Rubina to really get into the game. And maybe she'll be a little less distracted by Tucker and a lot more focused on what she has to do to play the game. So They're thinking as bad as it is, if things don't go well and Rubina's on the block come Thursday, if they have the votes to save her, it really could flip her game around and help them as well. All right, we've got Quinn and Tucker talk to each other a little bit. You always wonder when these two have a conversation. Tucker basically says the same kind of thing that, maybe I'll use it just to, I think the term he used was maybe just to follow through or complete what I was trying to do. But he has hinted to Tucker, or to Quinn at least, that he may use the veto, not on him, but well, I guess it would be not use it at all. Or, well, how would that work? I use it, take it on. I don't know. Let me basically saying that he may try to stay the way it is so that he can compete. All right, Brooklyn and Cedric, and then later Quinn afterwards is telling Brooklyn and Cedric, and then later just directly to the camera that he's just at this point, as certain as he was before, he's not convinced that Tucker will use the veto and risk Rubina. Maybe not because of the Rubina effect, but just because Tucker is so confident that he can win that he wants to stay in and make sure that Cedric goes home at this point in time. So yeah, Quinn's starting to get a little twinkle in his eye, thinking that maybe he can still keep Tucker on the block this week, even with Tucker winning the veto. I just don't think it's going to happen. All right, Quinn talking about this scenario a little bit, and he's calling Tucker, saying he's a badass if he does it and it works. More respect to him if he does it. He says, but as a game move, it's a horrible game move. Yeah, I feel the same way. You can't keep doing this, Tucker. Even when everything goes perfectly according to plan, it just makes a target bigger on your back. And I'm not sure that Tucker's thinking long-term enough maybe right now to realize that. Quinn's realizing that. Quinn is worried that if this works, if they manage to convince Tucker to not pull himself off the block, it's great, and maybe they can get Tucker out the door, but he also is worried because it was Brooklyn's idea, and he knows that Brooklyn's going to claim this at the end of the season as one of her game moves. Quinn's already thinking about his final two speech and what he's going to do to justify winning this thing. So he's worried that Brooklyn's going to claim this move and he's not going to be able to. All right, we've got Tucker talking to Cam, saying, Cam, I know that you're with Leah and Quinn and Joseph, but I'd love to have you come over and work with me instead. Cam's denying it, saying, look, to be honest, Tucker, I'd love to go head to head with you and just battle it out. We're two big, strong guys. Let's battle it out. He's saying, but having said that, I'm sure not going to volunteer for the block. He said, Cedric volunteered. I'm not going to volunteer because he says, I'm just like you, Tucker. If I'm on the block come Thursday, I'm a big, strong guy. They'll boot me out just because I can win the competitions and everything else. I'll be in the same position as you. So I'm not going to risk my game. I'd love to go head to head with you, but I'm sure not going to volunteer. Tucker's saying, yeah, I get it. Absolutely. I get it. But he says at the same time, just realize that there are a lot of snakes in the grass on your side, Cam. He said, people are afraid of me right now. Everything that you're telling people and that's being discussed on your side, people are afraid, so it's getting back to me. I'm hearing everything that you're saying, Cam. So just realize that you got a lot of snakes over there. You can't trust them. Consider coming over to my side if at all possible. So he's making the pitch to Cam. All right, we've got Quinn talking to Chelsea and saying that Tucker said he's not going to use the veto. I tell you what, Tucker, again, whether he was joking around with it or not, I think that Tucker has gotten in Quinn's head. And he mentioned this night before last, that maybe if he thought that Quinn thought he was not going to use the veto, it would get Quinn a little more rattled and maybe make him rethink on down the road what he would do if he got HOH, things like that. So he definitely has Quinn telling a lot of people that he may not use the veto. So he's got Quinn thinking about that. It's going to be a great veto ceremony because again, I don't think he'll follow through. I think Tucker will use it. It's going to be interesting because I'm sure Tucker's going to get up there and give some long speech that makes it sound like he's getting ready to keep himself on the block, and everyone's going to get all excited, and then he'll pull the trigger and pull himself off and do it just to watch Quinn's face when he does it. Yeah, he's definitely in Quinn's head. All right, we've got Chemo and T-Core. They're worried that they're hanging around too much together, and they actually are talking to Angela about it. And Angela says, oh, yeah, of course. Everyone sees that y'all are together all the time, but nobody thinks that y'all are playing game, that y'all are plotting. And y'all just friends, y'all just hanging out. No one's really seeing that. That's all they do is talk, scenario after scenario, most of which never comes to fruition. Tikor and Chemo are full of all kinds of ideas that just don't ever quite go beyond the discussion stage, but they love talking about it. Yeah, there's a lot of game talk between these two, and Angela is just not recognizing it. All right, we've got later Tikor talking to Chemo, saying that she thinks that Brooklyn and Chelsea are the equivalent of Tikor and Chemo. And I kind of see that. At this stage of the game, you're starting to see some duos forming. Some of them are showmances, some of them are just people that trust each other. I feel like when you play this game, everyone feels like they need someone that can be a ride or die, and that's starting to develop. You've got Angela and Tucker, although Tucker may deny it, but you've got Angela and Tucker, you've got Brooklyn and Chelsea, Tikor and Chemo. We are seeing some of these develop, and so they're talking about that. They fear that Quinn is going to turn on them eventually, that right now, yeah, collective, it's okay, but they think Quinn will turn on them eventually. They're worried that Quinn is just too tight with Leah. Every time they talk to him, he talks about maybe trying to bring her in and doing something with her. They don't necessarily want Leah in at this point in time, and they're worried about Quinn maybe not having his ultimate loyalties to them as opposed to other folks in this game. They mentioned that between Leah and Rubina, they certainly trust Rubina a lot more than Leah, but they're seeing that Quinn's a little bit different situation, a little bit different opinion on that. They're talking about breaking the collective up and potentially using Tucker to do it. Keep that strong guy here and let him go after the collective so we don't have to get the blood on our hands. They do talk about the fact that they want to tell Tucker before too much longer some of the details about the collective and how it works and who's there and who's at the top and who's at the bottom. They don't want to wait too long and have Tucker accuse them of trying to hide information from him. Instead, they'll wait a little bit, but they'll tell him as much as they know about it and let him use that as ammo to basically go after them. So they're going to talk about that. They are going to make sure when they tell him about this that he knows that they're at the bottom. They were pulled in. It wasn't something that they came up with. They were just kind of pulled in. And how do you say no to something like that? But the plan is to tell Tucker at one point about the collective and let him just start picking them off one by one. All right, we've got Timor and Chemo continued. They're worried that if Tucker was to use the vote on Rubina, that she could turn into a perpetual target, that she certainly would be a target going forward because of her connection to Tucker. And even if she survives short term, it could be difficult long term. And they're saying if nothing else, if he pulls her off, or if he uses the veto on Rubina, or not use it, if he doesn't use the veto so that Rubina is protected, people are going to always connect the two and maybe make her a target. On the other hand, they're saying if he does use a veto, she goes up on the block. We probably have the votes to save her anyway, and then it's not going to look like she and Tucker are necessarily as tight as people maybe want to think that they are. So they're seeing some advantages to Rubina actually staying on the block if they can just get the votes for this week, and that's a big if. All right, we've got Tucker talking to Rubina later, saying that if it's her and Cedric at the end, Cedric is going home. It's going to be a close vote. It's going to really be a close vote if it's the two of them. But he's trying to pump her up and say, you're good. Cedric will go home over you. I'm not sure that's the case. Could be, just not sure if that's the case. There is talk about them distancing themselves from each other just to try to make her not look like she's as much of a target. So we've got that. All right. I mentioned that everyone spent a lot of time in the backyard. At one point, they all got called in. It's always exciting when Big Brother says, Houseguest, check the storage room. They come running in. They've got a whole little box of cake mixes and party hats and Modelo beer. Why Modelo? Where's the Modelo coming from? Of all the beer, it seems like that and White Claws is what they're getting this year. But beggars can't be choosers, right? They get beer and cake mix and party hats. And a little sign that says, Happy Birthday, Angela, which is all fine and dandy, except Angela's birthday wasn't yesterday. It's next Sunday. So production was a week early. Did they do that just because they screwed up? Did they do it because it was a little boring day and they wanted some alcohol in these house guests? I'm not sure what it was, but yeah, they kind of started a little premature. So we will just take a page out of Jasmine's book and say, Happy Birthday week, Angela. Let the celebrations begin now. And of course, because it's your birthday week, no one can vote you out or nominate you or anything, right? because it's your birthday. It's your birthday. So yeah, happy early birthday to you, Angela. They did get it. They still celebrate a little bit. All right, Tucker's talking to Rubina some more, saying that he doesn't know what he's going to do at this point in time. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I think he's just telling Rubina that to make her not get too upset at this point in time. He's going to use a veto on himself. He's talking about how he hopes that there's going to be a battle back this year, that would certainly benefit him. He's saying that he won't do jury house. If he wants to go now. If he doesn't go now, he's not doing jury. He just is. We'll see. But he says he's not doing jury house. It's all or nothing for Tucker. Tucker's talking about Leah flirting with all the guys, and Quinn saying that in week 1 he would give up his game for Leah. He said something like that while they were all up have-nots. And so Tucker's saying because of that, he said, I'm going to give him a taste of his own medicine, Rubina. If we make it through this thing, I'm winning HOH, especially if it's the wall. I'm winning HOH. I'm putting Quinn up and I'm putting Leah up next to him. Let them see what it's like to have this going on. So we do have that. All right, we've got more games of Mafia taking place. Leah led one of them. So we have few different hosts, but more games of Mafia. They play more Mafia than than talk strategy. Some people, they do play a lot of games of Mafia. So they're doing that. We've got Quinn and Chemo talking. Quinn doesn't think anyone will put up T-Core or Chemo up. Yeah, they're pretty safe right now. He's saying that Joseph, though, is playing scared, that he tried to warn Joseph that there's an inner group on the other side and that Joseph's just not seeing that. So Quinn is saying he's tried to warn Joseph, about the Pentagon without saying it to T-Core or Chemo, and just not buying it. He's telling Chemo and T-Core that the people he trusts in this game is Chemo and T-Core and Joseph and Cedric. Those are the 4 that he has the biggest trust with right now. All right, we've got Tucker and Angela talking to each other. Tucker is saying that Brooklyn told him that staying on the block and winning AIBB Arena would be a huge resume move. In other words, Tucker's recognizing that Brooklyn's trying to push him into not using the veto, saying, oh, that'd be great. Look what that would do for the resume, Tucker. Well, yeah, we know that Brooklyn and Chelsea are the ones that want to keep Tucker on the block, along with Quinn and a few others. But Tucker's saying, yeah, Brooklyn's trying to talk me into it. They both want Cedric gone this week over Mackenzie. They obviously want Cedric gone out the door if at all possible. Angela, now I thought this was really smart on Angela's part. Angela tells Tucker, she says, look, I think Quinn is having Rubina tug at your heartstrings. I think he's using Rubina, telling her that she's going up and letting her know it's because of the connection with you and all this. I think she's doing all that on purpose to tug at your heartstrings as a way to get you not to use a veto. I think that's a great move by Angela to present it as Quinn's trying to play you by not using the veto, to get you not to use a veto. He's playing you, Tucker, because I think if Tucker is envisioning this move as this big hero move, he may stay on the block just because that's the kind of guy he is and to protect Rubina and all that. But if he thinks that people are trying to force him to do it, to manipulate him into doing it, as Angela is suggesting, then I think it makes it easier for Tucker to step back and say, yeah, I'll just go ahead and pull myself off the block. So I thought it was a good approach from Angela, bringing it out in the way that she did. Tucker finally, again, for now, is telling Angela, say, yeah, no, I'm going to use a veto on me. I will use on me. But I did tell Quinn just the opposite. And let's see how that spins up and see what that does to Quinn. Again, he wants a little misinformation in this house right now. All right, we've got Quinn and Joseph excited that Tucker might not use a veto. Quinn is just in front of the cameras and he just put his hands together. It's like a child on Christmas. So excited about the prospect that Tucker may still be on the block. Your dreams are going to be burst, Quinn. I mean, maybe I'll be proven wrong. I'll be back tomorrow saying, yeah, I was wrong. Tucker did it anyway. I don't think so. But Quinn is really excited that Tucker may not use that veto. All right, we've got Quinn and Chemo talking. Quinn saying that he wants to make spicy moves, such as flipping on the collective. He says maybe he could win a veto, save Leah, put Cedric up. So he has some grand plans about things he'd like to do going forward. He does say that he wants to make sure that Angela is not in the jury house, that he doesn't think that if he doesn't make it to the very end, that he could stay in the jury house with Angela for an extended period of time. So we're going to see him really wanting to go after Angela. Remember, Quinn can still play for HOH next week. Even though he controls everything this week, he can still play for HOH. And depending on who's still in the house, Angela and Tucker certainly are going to be his biggest targets. All right, we've got Tucker and Rubina in the storage room having a bit of a, call it a breakup, a slowdown. I'm not sure what you call it since they weren't really an item to begin with. But basically, Tucker's saying, look, us being close, it's creating issues for you. He's saying, we're just going to have to back off because otherwise it's going to hurt both of us. He's saying, we can still be friends. And Rubina's saying, yeah, we can still do whatever we've been doing, whatever that is. So they're both agreeing that that's probably the best thing to be done. But you can see in Rubina's face, she's not happy from an emotional standpoint. From a personal standpoint, that is not what she wants to hear. I'm sure she would much rather have heard Tucker say, I'm going to fall on the sword for you. I will save you, my precious dear. And I'll do what I have to do to. None of that happens. It says we need to back off. We need to slow play this to protect us both. She's saying I'm fine with it, but you can see on her face there's a little disappointment in there as well. All right, we've got Quinn trying to. Maybe this is one of his spicy moves, trying to take one of the backyard cushy couches upstairs. He's been staying in the have-not room. He wants to take it up there to have a little bit more comfortable places to lie or sit or whatever. Production's not going to let him do that, but they let him get it all the way upstairs before they then tell him to bring it back downstairs. First of all, being the have-not room, they're not going to let anyone do a whole lot to make it any nicer to begin with, even though we don't have have-nots. But there is a rule in the Big Brother house. You can't move furniture from one room to the other ever. I know during my season, Mickey tried to bring in some of the workout equipment inside. And now there was talk with them losing the backyard, what they could bring in, not bring in. I don't think there's much that's going to be allowed in, but yeah, production shut that down. They said, Quinn, all furniture on the outside has to stay on the outside. So he's not real happy about that at all. All right, we've got Chemo. I mean, he's laughing about it. He's not upset. He's just saying, why'd you wait till I got all the way up here? All right, we've got Chemo, Tucker, Rubina, and Angela heading out back to enjoy the yard. They go upstairs and they find Joseph up there. And I really thought, all right, well, this group of five could potentially have some interesting conversations. No, they didn't. They're just talking about past Houseguests, what other shows they've moved on and done after this. Tucker did mention at one point, says, well, my friend Cody was here. Then he went on to do the Traders. I think I'd heard before that he and Cody maybe had talked. I'd heard talk that maybe Cody coached Tucker. And of course, we don't know if that's the case or not. But Tucker is confirming that he and Cody do know each other in the real world because he does mention that. But not a lot of real strategy talk. We've got that going on. Meanwhile, we've got Cedric and Chelsea and Leah and T-Core and Cam talking about dating. Primarily, it's Cedric talking about dating and some of his, I don't know if moves is the right words, but some of the things he says and all that. And Cam saying, yeah, you don't need to really share all that with me, Cedric. And Cedric said, let me show you how to do it. If I had a, Cam saying, yeah, I'm good. Don't worry about that. Cedric does say that when he's got a last date with the girl, he always takes her go-karting so he can send her out with an L, with a loss. So if you're dating Cedric and he takes you go-karting, be prepared. All right, we've got Chemo and Rubina and T-Core talking to each other. Rubina is confirming that Tucker is going to use a veto on himself. T-Core is saying that Rubina definitely has the votes if she's up against Mackenzie. They know she'll be all right with that. Rubina is scared about going up against Cedric. No matter what Tucker says that she's got the vote, she's worried about that. I think as she should be. Rubina is worried that she'll keep being the target after this, which kind of T-Core and Chemo talked about as well. But Rubina's worried about that. But T-Core saying, no, look, if the veto isn't used on you, it's going to show that you're playing your own game. It's going to show that you and Tucker maybe aren't as close as people assumed, and they aren't going to be able to use you to intimidate Tucker either. So now if he doesn't use it on you, if you make it onto the block this week, it should actually be better for you, Rubina. So she's telling her that. Tucker joins them eventually, says he doesn't want any more alliances. He's tired of all these alliances going on. He's saying that Rubina will have the votes over Cedric. Remember, she's a little worried about it. He says, nah, you're going to have votes over Cedric as well. It's going to be tougher than you think, Tucker. Tucker's also saying that Angela will do what he says, but she is not a final two for him. Well, we had Angela and Tucker just a little while earlier hugging it out at the end and saying all the way to the end, both of them agreeing and everything else. Maybe not so much based on what Tucker is saying here. He talks about Angela fake sleeping, which we talked about a little bit earlier. Tucker is promising not to mention the 5 points alliance to Angela. They know he's close, and he's not trying to hide that he talks to her all the time. He's trying to let it be known she's not a final two, but he's also saying, I'm not going to tell anyone, especially Angela, about these 5 points. Y'all don't have to worry about that. Tucker thinks that he got some different plans. Tucker's thinking that he could maybe get Cedric to flip on Quinn at some point. He's also saying that Cedric is claiming that he was forced to volunteer to go on the block. Well, we know Cedric pretty much volunteered himself, but Cedric's saying that Quinn pretty much forced him to go up on the block. Tucker's saying that people keep saying, that's the saying of the night, I think. Tucker's saying that people keep saying that Big Brother is a marathon and not a sprint. But then Tucker comes back and says, yeah, but I could sprint marathons. Maybe he can. He certainly seems to be proving it so far. But marathon's a long distance run, and he's got a lot of game left to play. All right, finally, we've got Cedric and T-Core playing pool. T-Core confirming that that Tucker will use the veto on himself. T-Core saying she's just definitely the wall comp is going to be Thursday. No doubt. I'm definitely certain it's going to be the wall comp. Well, we'll see. Cedric is worried that if it is the wall comp, that the wall comp could easily be Tucker's to win. And what if the BBAI arena twist ends as well this week? So suddenly now maybe Cedric's on the block. He only has one chance, the veto comp, to pull himself off. He doesn't have that second chance of the BB arena. So he's getting a little bit worried about his position in the game going forward, as he probably should. They have to figure out how to get Tucker to drop. Cedric at one point says, I don't want to be up on that wall for 15 hours because Tucker's continuing to play the game. No one's going to be on that wall for 15 hours. These guys think that it's just a matter of mental discipline to stay on the wall. That's all it is. You just have to say, no matter what, I'm not dropping. Your body fails you at some point. They're going to find out it, maybe this week, maybe a few more weeks, but they'll find out these endurance comps aren't as easy as they sound. But he's saying, I don't want to spend 15 hours up there with Tucker, so we got to figure out some way to get him to drop. Well, good luck on that. All right, talk about battle back benefiting Tucker if they do have a battle back. Cedric's also saying, yeah, we could have, or Quinn, I think he's saying Quinn said we could maybe even have 2 battle backs this year, one pre-jury, one post-jury. We'll see, but they're even thinking that you could have a battle back just because they think Tucker is kind of the favorite child for production, for viewers and all of that. So if Tucker does go home this week, maybe they'll have a battle back just to get Tucker a chance to get back into the game. So they certainly are fearing Tucker and his influence over the game, the people, the viewers, everyone. All right, so finally they've got Cedric saying that a strategy for the collective, we just have to keep winning HOHs. As long as we keep winning HOHs, the collective's great. First of all, it tells me Cedric's still sold on the collective. 2, a strategy isn't we're going to continue to win competitions. Anyone can win if you have that strategy. A lot more than that, Cedric. You got to realize you're not going to win them all, and you better be prepared for that. And with that, lights out around 4 o'clock or so, Big Brother time, 6 o'clock Houston time. So again, a long evening, a lot of conversations. The main thing, though, was just back and forth. Is Tucker going to use a veto to pull himself off? Is he going to let himself stand there as a way to protect Rubina, or as a way to follow this through and go after Cedric and be the hero yet again? We'll find out today. I think he'll use it, but we will find out today. So I'll be back tomorrow to let you know. Also tonight, Cliff Notes Live, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. Unlike Big Brother episodes that may get delayed for hours and hours on end, we won't be doing that on Cliff Notes. No, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. Bring any questions, opinions you have. We're going to talk all about Big Brother for a solid hour. That's on YouTube. Come out and find me. We'll have a lot of fun this evening. And then tomorrow morning, I'll do a recap of what happened with the veto ceremony and overnight as well. Guys, y'all enjoy y'all's Monday. School starting down here in the Houston area, so watch out for the kiddos and all of that if it's the same in your neck of the woods. Have a great Monday. I will talk to y'all either tonight or tomorrow morning. Until then, SKD 143. Cheers, my friends. Bye.